Welcome in. Happy Monday. Parker, Sipple, Lincoln Journal-Star, HuskerExtra.com. Bye week's over, Sipple. Back to work.
Yeah.
For us, for the University of Nebraska. 3-5, obviously through 8 games. Purdue coming to Lincoln this weekend. This is 4 downs, the 4 most interesting things we heard from Scott Frost, handful of players today. Sipple, number 1, Adrian Martinez, talked a little bit about his physical health and sort of his outlook over the last 4 games of the year.
Yeah, I think he's 100%.
Yeah.
But he always, he's right. He says everybody's got to play through stuff.
Right.
Including him. But, he wasn't, he did say he was not 100% against Minnesota. Now, I did ask him point blank, was there ever a concern that week going into Minnesota that you wouldn't play? And he said, I was always confident I would play.
Yeah.
I wondered if there was somebody else that maybe was not as confident, but
the head coach perhaps.
Yeah, or like a trainer or something.
Yeah, right.
But Adrian was confident.
Yeah. And he said also he's not thinking at all about whether these are his last 4 games at Nebraska, which is sort of an interesting conversation because they could be. There's a lot of guys on the roster that have decisions to make after this year, but none of a higher profile, obviously, than Adrian. And so he said you might use the doubt or just not knowing for sure as an extra element of urgency. But he also said, I'm not thinking about that at all until the season's over.
Yeah, he will continue to nip that in the bud.
Yeah, he will. Number 2, Scott Frost walked in today very quickly. Had a little pep in his step, said he felt refreshed after the bye week. Seemed like the players on the team, for the most part, said they did too.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of the natural thing. Scott was in a pretty good mood today. He was interesting. He asked right away who are the players that were up here. He wanted to know which players. That struck me as interesting. He watched that game between Illinois and Penn State that went 9 overtimes, and said he felt anxiety watching those 2-point conversions continue to fail. He's a play caller.
Yeah.
I could totally. I watched the game too, and I could totally understand where he's coming from. I think. I mean, you'd expect them to be refreshed. You're refreshed. I'm refreshed.
Yeah.
You had a week off. You had a week end off. I think it helps everybody.
Yeah. Deontai Williams, I mean, it helps Deontai get closer to being back on the field, but the 6-year safety, Scott did not, I mean, and Frost said last week as well that he'd be back at some point this year. Frost said today did not sound like a coach who thought he was going to play this week. He said he'll play again this season. I don't know when that will be. Right.
I don't think it'll be this week. He didn't, I think he would have said it would have been, he might be ready this week.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see Deontai Williams. It's big.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big. I mean, Purdue has an excellent receiver in David Bell. Everybody knows that. Matt Millen on the broadcast of Wisconsin-Purdue said they don't have much in their passing game beyond that. I just don't agree with that.
Yeah, Payne Durham had 9 catches for 112 yards in that game.
Yeah, Payne Durham's a very good tight end. Milton Wright's a pretty good player. They've had Jackson Anthrop forever.
Yeah, 14 years, I think, now or something like that.
Yeah, and they have another player named Thompson, number 29. They have other weapons. Now, they don't run the ball.
Right.
But not having that veteran safety back there, that'll make things difficult for Nebraska, in my opinion.
Last thing, number 4, quickly, Nebraska's coaches were out on the road recruiting for the first time in a long time, late January of 2020. This past week, and Frost said they got good reception where they went. Frost was at Southeast and Elkhorn South, saw a bunch of guys that are either verbally committed to the program or have offers for this class and the next one. So interesting to be back on the road. He said the reception overall was positive, that people can see where the program's headed. Obviously, if you keep losing, that doesn't get easier on the recruiting trail going forward.
Yeah, it seems like the fan base kind of feels that way, maybe a little more haltingly than the people right in the program. So strange conversation here.
Yeah.
They obviously could use a win. You want some affirmation. They keep looking for affirmation. Here's a pretty good chance to get some.
This is Steve Sipple. I could use the affirmation if right here on the Velcro strip it said Husker Extra Sip right there. That's all for today for Sipple and Parker. Thanks for watching.